guys, it's Angela here. I have a sequence for you of restorative yoga today. I filmed it once, it did not work. Cut out halfway through, my battery died. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to just show you the postures and suggest that you stay in them for at least 5 to 10 minutes. You can set a timer or either on your smartphone or look at the clock. Some of these postures you're having your neck bent. So it's not a good idea to turn and look at a clock if you have a clock. So it's better to set a timer if you can, or put the clock in a position where it's easy to look at. You don't have to turn your head. Okay, so the first posture is Supta Baddha Konasana. If you have a bolster, this is ideal. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a foam roller with a blanket over it, or you can use, go on now Ringo, another, a firm pillow, something rolled up tight to support your back. Okay, and you also need a strap. If you don't have a strap, this is not necessarily a requirement for this posture. Also nice to have a couple of blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can use books. Nice to have either blocks or the strap for this posture. So your bolster is about 6 inches from your sacrum, the low back. Feet together on the blocks. And then you take your strap or belt or scarf or whatever. It has to be quite long. If you have a strap, make sure that it's not folded. And you put it in your low back and around your feet with the excess portion to your dominant side from either right so that I can tighten it as I need, easy from that side. Actually, this is a little tight for me. Okay, so once you're in the position, and again, the strap is in the low back, in the below the low back, so it's really supported by the hips, not the low back. And then you release onto the bolster, tuck the chin in slightly, and then just let go, feeling the breathing. If you find after a little while the blocks are really too supportive or the hips have opened and you want to accommodate that opening, just bring the blocks a little bit more towards the knees, blocks or books or whatever. You can let the palms just raise or bring the hands on the abdomen. Or if you like, catch one wrist in your hand and bring the hands above the head. And then partway through, switch the hand that's holding the wrist. So again, stay here for 5 to 10 minutes. If you feel like you need to leave the posture sooner or you want to stay later, do so. To come out, catch the head in the hands and lift the head, then bring the hands to the ground, lift the torso, come up symmetrically, and then remove the straps. I'm just going to check on the camera. Okay, still good. So the second position, the second posture is Supta Virasana. This is a deeper back bend, so you might want to use some support under your bolster. So if it's this way, it's going to be one like this and one like this. It seems quite high, but it is quite a deep posture. So you're on this nice incline. So that's part one. And then, if you have the strap available, we're going to use that again. We're going to kneel in front of the bolster. It's okay if you're touching the bolster, you don't want to be too far away from it. You're not quite sitting on the heels in Supta Virasana. The heels are wider than the hips, slightly. A couple of things in this posture. You might feel tension on the knees. If you do, you can lift the flesh off of the knees towards the face. So pulling the flesh away from the ground. We're going to go and get the space behind the knee and in between the two muscles of the calf. And we're going to push down towards the hips, towards the heels rather. Some people have a tendency to push away. This is going to create a torque on the knee. It's unnecessary and it could cause pain. If you have really tight ankles, you can roll a small towel or fold the mat itself to make a little cushion just under the joint. And then lastly, if the strap is available to you, put it underneath the knees. Oops, see, now I've done it the wrong way, so I can't tighten it well. You want the excess bit to be available to tighten, like so. The idea here is not to strangle your legs, but just to keep them from opening outwards, okay? And then once there, lean back onto the bolster. For some, this is a really big stretch to the quads. So patiently letting the release happen, making adjustments if you need to. If you decided to go into this posture without the bolster lifted and you realize a minute in that it's unbearable, come out of it and make the correct adjustment. To come out of this posture, same thing, catch the head, lift up. After Supta Virasana, we want to come right into Downward Dog. Again, we're going to hold Supta Virasana 5 to 10 minutes. Downward Facing Dog doesn't so much matter about the alignment of the upper body. We want to push the heels to the ground in order to stretch the hamstrings. You can stay there just for about 5 or 10 breaths. And then we're going to do a longer hold of Downward Dog, either with the block or the bolster. By longer hold for this one, I mean maximum a minute. So I'll just take my sweater off so you can see a little better. So you're going to have support on the forehead. If you use the block, support the forehead, go into your extended child's pose, and then lift up into Downward Dog. You can take a small rest in child's pose after the Downward Dog. And then slowly lift up. So that was a version of Adho Mukha Svanasana. Next is Dhanurasana back bend. I need some support for the head, so I use a bolster. You can use a block or a firm pillow or books or whatever. Just have some support for the head. Okay, so we place our chair. This chair is specific for yoga because the dimensions are correct. It gives you enough space to put your legs through. It's high enough, deep enough, and sturdy enough. You don't necessarily have to have a yoga chair, but do have one that has the right dimensions and is sturdy. If you don't have such a chair, for this posture, I mean, you can maybe use a couch. It's not going to be as supported. And it actually won't be a complete back bend because you have to put your legs up on the couch. It's kind of more of another posture. But, you know, you do with what you have, right? So this is the full version. Okay, so first we put our legs through. Hold the top of the chair to support you. Lean back. The top lip of the chair, front lip of the chair is going to fall just below the shoulder blades. And then you let the head rest. If you slide a little bit further down, that's fine. And you catch the bottom part of the chair. Chin is slightly tucked. This posture can be very detoxifying. To come out, strongly tuck the chin. Lift up using the top part of the chair. And let the head hang. And stay here as long as you need to, because you might find that you have it almost feels like a quick tension headache, but it dissipates very quickly as long as you stay with your head hanging and leaning forward, as long as you need to, maybe a minute. The posture itself, you can hold it for 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, the next posture is Sarvangasana, a shoulder stand. You can use the bolster in the other direction or stack a few blankets. You want the blankets to be nice and flat, so no bumps in it. And you want it to be placed so that the head is lower than the shoulders. You'll see what I mean when I get into it. You want the shoulders to be supported and the head to be just a little bit lower, or if you're newer to the posture, quite a bit lower. You'll see that the bolster is a big height to allow the head to fall further forward. So for this posture, you put your knees over the top part of the chair. Come down the shoulders onto the bolster. The sacrum is supported by the chair, and you can either keep your knees bent, catch the bottom legs of the chair, or you can let your legs extend. We are here for 5 to 10 minutes, so it might be too difficult to leave the legs extended. And also, if you're new to this posture, you're going to feel that there's quite a bit of pressure on the sacrum. This is a hard chair. You can put a cushion, but not so that you're slipping off the chair. You want to make sure that you're sturdy on the chair. And then to come out of the posture after our 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to put your feet on the lower part of the chair and then roll onto the ground. If you have towels, you can walk yourself back as many little steps as you need. And then roll to the right to come back up. Okay, so it's quite a deep back bend. This and the previous can be quite difficult if it's your first time doing it, so be patient. Use the support that you need. Okay, next we have a twist. Supported twist, restorative twist. I'll show you one of the ways to do it. With a bolster or something to support you. If possible, firm support. When we do twists, we always want to affect the ascending colon first, so on the right side of the body. I'm not doing the mirror, so this is my right. Always do your right. You want your knees to be facing left. So whether it's a standing posture or lying down, knees to the left, gaze either to the left, forward, or to the right. The gaze is not so important, but the knee is always to the left. So we come into the fetal position. You can be quite close to the bolster for this one. And you lift up and over onto the bolster. Now if your neck is particularly challenged, you can look to the left. It's no problem. You still get all the benefits of the twist. And you can adjust the angle to the right or to the left with your bolster. To the left, it's going to be less intense. To the right, you're creating more of a twist. But it's not a competition. You just want to be able to relax completely in the posture. And you can make adjustments as you go along. For this posture, you're going to stay 5 minutes on each side. Because this posture is so important for elimination, if you need to stay longer on the right side to really get the elimination, the intestines moving. If that's not your concern, you can make it shorter. And then we do the other side, making the adjustments that we need, gazing to the right or to the left. And then coming up, pushing the weight into the hands. If you find that you have to take a break because the pose was so effective, then of course you take the break and you take the time you need and come back. But always doing both sides, so always finishing with the knees to the right to complete the movement of the bowels. Okay, the last posture, second to last posture, Setu Bandhasana. For this, you just need a block. I'll move the chair aside. Okay, so one block will do the job. So we lay with our feet down, our legs bent, sacrum resting on the mat. Take the time you need to settle here. And then to get into the posture, we're going to come bringing the heels close to the buttocks. Lift the hips. You can walk the shoulders underneath the body. Come up onto the mounds of the big toe. Lift the hips as high as you can and bring the block under the sacrum. The block is on the highest height and it's lengthwise. So it's the thin part which is supporting the sacrum. And then once here, you can let your hands, palms up. You can keep enough energy in the legs so that the knees and legs are parallel. This is a nice stretch to the psoas and the quads, and it's a lower abdominal stretch. You might feel really comfortable in this posture and want to stay longer than 5 or 10 minutes, that's fine. Whenever the head is below the heart, it's bringing blood to the top part of the lungs, which has the nice effect on our breathing. And also whenever the neck is bent like this, it's massaging the thyroid gland. Try to not ever turn your head when your neck is bent like this. So again, if you can have a timer rather than having to look at a clock, or you can just follow your instincts in these postures. You can stay as long as you like, or leave sooner than other postures. It's completely fine. To come out, back onto the mounds of the big toe, lift up, remove the block, rest with the sacrum on the ground for at least another minute or so. And then roll to the right and come back up. The last posture, if you have a wall, it's better. I'm just going to use a chair. But not every apartment or house has access to a wall. Sometimes they have radiators and you don't have a lot of space, so I'll give you two options here. So, imagining that this is a wall, bring the buttocks up to the wall, raise the legs and adjust yourself. So if this were a wall, I would place my feet there and adjust myself, bring myself closer to the wall so the buttocks is touching the wall. With your feet on the wall, lift the hips and place the block underneath the sacrum. So Viparita is calm water. So it's like a lake. There's no arching or rounding of the back. The space of the hips to the lower ribs is about the same. And you can lift the legs up, or if you have a chair, you can rest your feet on the chair. I'm going to choose a different version today, which is a version of Shavasana without the block, just with the legs on the chair. If your knees have a tendency of opening wide, you can use a strap around the thighs, just to keep it firm, not tight. And then this is our final posture, so you can stay here as long as you need. And if you start in Viparita Karani and you want to change to this version of Shavasana, feel free to do it at whatever point. And then when you're ready, roll to the right. A few breaths in the fetal position. And coming back up to a seated position. You can always finish in meditation or simply end by 3 times a long Om, 3 times Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste. So I apologize for the accelerated version of this restorative class. It should be, well, there's about 8 postures, 10 minutes each, 5 to 10 minutes. So that gives you an idea of how long it would take you to do the practice. But it's very hard to film 80 minutes, batteries die and it cuts out and whatever. So I'll keep trying to make either abridged ones or learning the technology better. But for now, I hope you enjoy this restorative class. It's I mean, restorative is a perfect practice to do when you're tired or drained or just don't have the energy to put into a vigorous practice. So enjoy. Thanks.